Oh my God. I hope everyone is splendid. Look at how are you. Woo, man. On Random Acts of Kindness Day, a super beautiful act is to color grade to those people in your heart. If you didn't do it on Valentine's Day, it's never too late, guys, to say, I fucking love you. For this reason, today Foxy brings you these beats that make our heart vibrate. Because remember, please, that it's never too late to spread our love. So let's do it. Woo, you guys! I told you we're going to enjoy this beat as much as I did. Never forget that we vibrate in love every fucking day. Please, guys, remember that. But now it's time for another epic podcast with the best of the metaverse, Matthew and Rizzle. This time with the great Jeremy de la Rosa, founder and CEO of LEYLINE DD. So listen and thanks so much for this amazing party.
It's going down.
Synt Podcast.
In the area.
Matthew and Rizzle. Synt Podcast.
Let 'em know, y'all.
Synt Podcast.
In the area.
Matthew and Rizzle. Synt Podcast.
Hey everyone, Matthew here. Before we begin today's show, I just want to remind everyone of this month's sponsor, Whale Street. Whale Street is the DeFi engine that powers NFT economics on a massive scale. They make huge currency swaps happen, or whale swaps as they're called, with very small slippage costs and without crashing the system. They also engineered the largest ever NFT bundle and fractionalized it into the historic B20 tokens. Whale Street is all about upside, so dip into the liquidity pools for rich rewards. For B20, join discord.com/whale. That's discord.com/WHALE. And follow Whale Street on Twitter @WhaleStreetOFFL. Thank you and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, Matthew here. Really excited to bring you yet another stellar episode of the Matthew and Rizzle Show. This week, Rizzle and I spoke with Jeremy from LEYLINE, the nonprofit focused on creating a more passionate world and rewarding folks for becoming more passionate. We talk about Jeremy's background working for AAA game studios and helping to shepherd the esport phenomena into the general public consciousness. And we circle back to what Jeremy's doing today with LEYLINE and how all of that works, especially as crypto and NFT land moonshot and explode and more money is filling the space. It's really important to think about how we can use that money to affect some good. And LEYLINE sounds like an amazing project for that. So without further ado, please enjoy the conversation that Rizzle and I had with Jeremy from LEYLINE. Okay, Jeremy, welcome to the Matthew and Rizzle Show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Same, happy to have you. So to get started, I'd really love to hear a lot about your background, especially when it comes to esports and gaming, and really eager to hear the origin story and background of LEYLINE.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. I think to give a basic intro, I've been in the tech sector for about 20 years now, and the last 10 years I spent over at Blizzard Entertainment. I was doing a number of different senior manager roles there. One was like helping to build the Battle.net platform, which is basically to serve as kind of host all the different Blizzard and Activision games. and helped launch about 7 AAA titles, including Overwatch, Hearthstone, World of Warcraft expansions, Diablo 3, StarCraft 2, and a bunch of stuff via the platform. And spent 3 years in Irvine at HQ and moved out to Paris to work out of our European office. And there I was focused on digital marketing, platform development, data science, data analysis. So I learned a lot of really cool stuff out there. After 3 years in Paris, and I moved back to California to join our esports team. So there I was focused on international operations, business development, helped to launch the Overwatch League globally, as well as a number of other esports leagues like, StarCraft in Korea and Hearthstone leagues, et cetera, et cetera. So I managed to get a great tour of duty in the kind of AAA game development publishing realm, and connected a lot with like the esports space and, launching leagues and media and sponsorships and all this kind of traditional sports elements. So I had a very interesting perspective on how all these pieces fit together. And there is this interesting revelation to me, which was, holy crap, there are a lot of gamers out there, and it's a force to be reckoned with. And my hope is that, man, we could leverage this for good. There are 2.7 billion gamers in the world, and that's going to be growing by another billion in the next 5 years, easy. And so my question was, okay, are we able to harness this for doing real world good? And I believe the answer is yes. And I tried for a long time to make that happen at Blizzard, because it's a leading company and it's got 60 million monthly active users, generating a ton of money and like at record highs because of the pandemic. And unfortunately, not enough was coming back. Less than 1% was being allocated towards people and planet when it comes to revenue. And so, kind of speeding up to where we are today, 2020 has been a pretty rough year for, I guess, everybody. And I felt this need to try and help and pitch in and, alleviate a lot of the suffering that's going on when it comes to the pandemic, the economic fallout, instability, and of course, climate change. Like we've got to really do some damage, or rather we got to make some serious progress in addressing an exponential change there. And so in April, my mom had passed away, and it really forced me to think about, what am I doing with my time and what am I doing with my capability? So in August is when I decided to resign from Blizzard and launch a nonprofit called LEYLINE. And the idea behind LEYLINE is, it is hard to, and complicated to do good things in the real world today. You have to spend your time or spend your money to donate or leverage your networks. And sometimes it's not super clear if you've had an impact, if you can trust the organization that you're donating to. And it's not like fun. There's not like great feedback to say, okay, you did a good job. Like, thank you for donating. It's kind of sporadic. So what we want to do at LEYLINE is we want to make doing good in the real world easy, fun, and profitable. So we are kind of reversing that entire dynamic and actually going to help people make a passive income by doing good things. And doing good things could be a wide range of activities, like individual wellness. Have you exercised today? Did you get a good night's sleep, at least 7 hours? Did you practice some mindfulness? So that's like helping people to be healthier and happier, which allows them to help others. Another area of activities are your local level. So how can you help volunteer, like donating blood or volunteering in a soup kitchen or helping with the beach cleaning? All these activities we can reward with LEYLINE points. And then there's like the passive global impact you can have. And the best partnership we have there is with donating your computing power to scientific research. So just by leaving your computer online overnight, you can accelerate research on cancer, climate change, COVID, killer asteroids if you want. So all these different do-good activities, you earn LEYLINE points for participating. And those LEYLINE points are used to get random prizes in our prize pool donated by different sponsors, which includes gift cards for Bitcoin and Amazon and Blizzard and Fortnite. And every prize that you claim will also have an NFT attached to it. So not only do you get the cash value item, you also get an exclusive NFT for your LEYLINE profile and digital avatar. So we are making this like crazy value proposition to any people using LEYLINE while they're doing good in the real world. So that's the value prop, and that's the idea. And we're getting a lot of momentum. So we'd love to kind of go more in depth today. I hope that was helpful as a starting point.
Dude, that was great, man. I mean, honestly, it's hard for me not to even hear like your elevator pitch and get like super inspired just by like the motivation behind your whole project. And I know I said the same thing to you when I first met, and I know a lot of other people who are listening right now probably have the exact same questions. Like, dude, yes, I'm like all about all this. Like, what's the next step, man? Are you like very close to unrolling this like comprehensive list of things I can grind for LEYLINE points and also become way healthier and like a better productive member of my community at the same time? Or is there like a couple things I can do right now, or do we have to wait? Or like how do people who are listening right now contribute or get involved or partake in some way?
Oh, this is great. Actually, there's a ton of ways we can get help. So the nice thing is that we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So, people can donate to us, and these are actually tax exempt donations too. So donations are pretty useful for us because we got to, buy coffee and feed engineers to build the platform. So certainly you can donate. That's the basic thing. But what is also really important is that we are an open source and open knowledge project, which means that anybody can participate. So if you're an engineer or designer, we can absolutely leverage your talents to kind of be part of the community, be part of the team. And it is a really cool culture. So, we've got a lot of different veterans from the tech and gaming industry. And I think we've got about 300 plus years of aggregated experience. And we all care about doing good. And, one way to do good is to educate and to mentor and to train. So we're actually onboarding people into the process and just giving, individuals hands-on experience, leveraging good process, best practices and tools, and having people participate. So that's another area of if you got the talent and skills, we can absolutely use that. So, we're taking this radical approach to launching this organization. And because we kind of really believe in decentralization and empowerment and flexibility and autonomy and freedom, we're actually trying to build this collaboratively with our community. So at our current stage, we are in a closed alpha test. So really focused on, letting people into the really rough proof of concept product. We kind of build it together. We ship updates every day, essentially, new features and bug fixes, try to get feedback from the community and iterate and keep on evolving the product. So if you'd like to be an alpha tester, we would love to have you join our Discord server. We'll get you through the wait list if you sign up on leyline.gg. And there are some really big advantages to being an alpha tester. The first is that it's a ton of fun. So we got a really cool, vibrant community and, lots of love and acceptance and memes and gaming nights and stuff like that. But the biggest, return on investment is, one, you get to participate and really help take a guiding hand in where a product goes. Two, you can start earning your LEYLINE points and while you're doing good things and claiming gift cards and NFTs. So we have that enterprise pool now. And the number one hottest claimed item are Bitcoin gift cards. And then the second is Amazon. As soon as we put them in the prize pool, bam, they get claimed super fast. You're going to have access to gift cards and our exclusive NFTs. So we've got some badass artists from the game industry with crazy concept art. and you'll get to own these exclusive non-fungible tokens. And these NFTs will evolve over time. So right now they're, kind of concept art, but eventually our plan is to migrate into Unity, where these become 3D models.
Wow.
So your NFT will be the original concept art. It'll become the 3D model. It'll have its own unique stats and gamification elements. And the end game is having cross-chain compatibility, where NFTs are usable on other platforms and, of course, sellable and tradable. So yeah, if you want to be an alpha tester, you get to get your hands on these NFTs that you own forever. Obviously, we're going to have to adjust it and evolve it over time once we get into closed beta and open beta. But getting a head start now could pay off dividends in the long run.
Next week during the listening party, we'll be dropping the links for this, so it'd be really cool to get people actively involved in the alpha right now. I'm super curious though, because high level, it sounds like you want it's awesome. I mean, doing good, doing better for the world, for the individual, for your local community. That's awesome. I mean, I'm excited. I want to kind of participate in the alpha, like literally right now. But I'm curious.
We'll hook it up, Matt, for sure.
So in the alpha, like what aspect are you actually focusing on first, or are you focusing on the individual, local, and global vectors all at the same time in your alpha when it comes to getting people to do things?
Yeah, it's a great question. We take a very scientific approach here, which is constantly experimenting and kind of testing out what works, what doesn't, what do you learn from it. And so we kind of have this open volunteer forum right now. So trying to identify, hey, what are people already doing that we could start to incentivize? So right now, our biggest push is doing a blood drive. So we are essentially kind of coordinating our community to say, all right, so these next couple of weeks, we're going to try and see how much blood we can donate, join our LEYLINE team on a Red Cross app, etc. And everybody that donates will get LEYLINE points and NFTs. So I think we are trying to just test out. And what that does, it opens up a discussion with the Red Cross, for example. So now we're in conversations with the Red Cross to say, hey, listen, guys, we can throw a bunch of donors your way. We'll incentivize the shit out of them with NFTs and points and gamification and leaderboards and achievements and your decked out profile and your avatar. And we'll keep them coming every month if you want. And so they're going to be they're already holy shit, this is awesome, because we have a drastic crisis of blood shortages right now. So anything we can do to incentivize people to come out and help is going to be so massive. So that kind of opens up the door to say, okay, let's do an official partnership and integrate here. All this stuff that we're offering for free, because we don't need to charge these nonprofits. So we save them a bunch of money in their marketing and acquisition costs. And we drive a bunch of activity and donations to help with actual real world impact. So yeah, what we do is now we are starting to onboard all these different type of volunteer activities, and the community is really kind of telling us, here's something that I'm already doing. I work with this nonprofit, and we start to onboard them one by one. So at the moment, the key activities that we're already rewarding LEYLINE points are your daily check-in for exercise, daily check-in for adequate sleep, your ability to donate your computing power or Android smart power towards scientific research, which is basically just passive LEYLINE points you earn every single day, and then blood donations. So we're going to scale from there pretty much every week, depending on community feedback. I think that's the biggest focus area is figuring out, okay, what are these activities we want to incentivize, and how do we, build the economics into that? And then, we're just kind of creating as many NFTs as we can and figuring out what's the right way to create exclusivity, uniqueness, and fun into that whole experience.
Dude, love it all, honestly. I'm also changing my terminology immediately from throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks to a very scientific method. I like the way it sounds way better, man. Right. I'm a scientist now. Dude, logistical question for you. And again, I'm first of all, I don't know how well I do on the adequate sleep part, but I do stay in shape. So I need to start checking in more often and see what the sleep parameters are. But in terms of donating computer power, how does that actually play out can I do that while using my computer? Is it going to suck up all of my bandwidth? If I were to do that concurrently, do I need a separate device to do that? And then on the other end of the spectrum, what happens if I have 50 phones lying around? Can I farm 50 times the one account, or how does that actually work in real time?
Oh yeah, I could definitely explain a lot, and feel free to stop me if I go down a rabbit hole, because it can get kind of complex.
Love rabbit holes.
All right, cool. So one of the way it works is we were actually partnered up with a project called BOINC. So it's Berkeley Open Infrastructure for Network Computing. It's a mouthful, but it's a project that's open source, and it's based out of UC Berkeley. So we're working closely with David Anderson, who's the founder of that. So he founded BOINC, and the most famous project is probably SETI at Home, which is a search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And how it works is that all these different research science groups, they actually need a ton of processing power to simulate data. And what happens is that you could do, say, protein folding simulations. You could do, gravitational wave simulations, climate modeling simulations. And it helps scientists to narrow down answers to a lot of their experiments. And so this has actually produced a lot of results. So, for example, over, I think 150 white papers have been produced out of the contributions to these science projects, which have led to drug discoveries for helping with childhood cancer. So there's a real world impact of helping these scientists crunch all this data. And that saves them money, from renting a supercomputer from Amazon services, for example. And it moves research faster by having all of us individually contributing to that data crunching. So the way it works is you install BOINC as a desktop app on your PC or an app on an Android phone. And the research projects basically send a tiny data packet to your machine. It's encrypted, and it's operating off the program built into BOINC. And you just crunch and calculate that data. So it happens in the background with your desktop app. And then you send back the answer to the project. And you just do that over and over again for all these different research projects, which you can choose. You could say, I only care about climate change, so I'm just going to donate to that particular project. So that's the mechanism, how it works. And it is powerful. We've already contributed over 100,000 days of donated computing power to this project, and that's with a tiny set of users. So now imagine 2.7 billion gamers and take 1% of that. Holy shit, we could accelerate science by months. This is very, very possible. And with almost zero effort, literally just leave your computer on at night and you help save the world and get money for it. Get LEYLINE points for it, which can convert into money over time. So that's the mechanism. And in terms of how it affects your computer, the great thing is that you can configure how the desktop app crunches data. So for example, you could say, okay, I only want this to run at fixed times during the day. So during my heavy usage, it'll be totally dormant and not do anything, and it'll crunch overnight while I'm sleeping. Another way to tune it is you could say, I only want this to use about 10% or 15% or 20% of my CPU and GPU, and it will not ever go beyond that in terms of crunching. The other element, which is really important, is that as you use your computer, like playing a game, for example, it'll already recognize that you have a higher usage of your CPU and GPU, and it'll go dormant automatically. So there's a lot of tuning you can do to just make sure it doesn't interrupt your normal flow of work or gaming or streaming or anything like that. So that hopefully that answers the kind of the mechanics of BOINC. Does that any questions there before I move on to how do we prevent bad guys from screwing around with our economics?
No, that makes perfect sense, man. I'm always looking for ways to game the system. So how do you stop me, dude?
Yeah. So here's the thing, we are going to have real money value in this ecosystem. So we absolutely have to prevent bad guys from abusing it. So one way that we do this is that we actually have a limit on how many LEYLINE points you can earn per day. So at the moment, we set the limit to essentially 240 LEYLINE points. And here's the logic behind that. One is we don't want to create this unfair advantage where, say, someone in the US has like a supercomputer or a server farm and could donate like crazy amounts to science. And then we have a, kid in Venezuela that just has a mobile phone and an internet connection. So that individual in Venezuela will never be able to keep up with the guy with the supercomputer. So we want to normalize the reward system. And essentially the way to normalize that is just say, hey, we're human beings. We only have 24 hours a day where we can do stuff. And so we should actually reward people off the hours they're contributing, not necessarily the amount of computing power. So what we do is grant 10 leyline points per hour of contribution. So at least that way we create this equal opportunity to earn and don't create a scenario where only the rich get richer. So that's one principle that we have in place. And of course, we still want to gamify all the hardcore users that want to show that they've got the most badass PC on the planet. That like to compete and smash everyone else's donations. So we'll still have those stats available and have custom achievements and events and other ways to kind of demonstrate how awesome you are. So to address so that helps to address the fact that someone could spin up like 1 million servers and try to game the system, is that we just have a hard cap on how much you can earn per day. So that's one way to curb abuse. The second is if someone wants to try and spin up 1 million different Leyline accounts, we would also basically have our minimal version of identity verification. So KYC is an important and mandatory regulatory compliance. What you do with KYC and how you do it. Sorry, if you're not familiar with KYC, is know your customer. Where essentially you have to kind of like upload an ID to verify you're a real human being. If you guys have been doing exchanges on trading on Coinbase or Binance, you basically have to do that to add your banking account. So we would need some minimal form of that just to make sure that you're a real human being, because we could come under fire for money laundering, essentially. So we have to do that for regulatory compliance, but also just make sure bad guys don't spin up 1 million accounts. So that's kind of the main way to block the bad guys, is to just make sure you're a real human being. And that's actually really important because your Leyline profile becomes your digital identity. So now imagine you're donating like 50 gallons of blood throughout your life. You're exercising every single day and you're burning tons of calories and, sleeping properly. And you're donating like 1,000 hours of computing power to cancer. We aggregate all of that data and it's validated through our partners and devices, like a Fitbit, for example. You could just hook up the API. And so we are kind of this digital resume of all the good you've done in the world. Like, you're a fucking hero. Like, look at all this amazing stuff that you've done. And here's all your achievements and badges. And here's your amazing NFT avatar with skins and pets and banners and backgrounds. So it adds a lot of social value to your identity. And we just keep stacking more and more cool data and verified activity onto the platform. So before I keep rambling, I'd love to pause and get your thoughts there.
No, I mean, for me personally, I love gamification. I'm a gamer background and, find myself tinkering around with things that are gamified just because I like to kick the tires and figure out how they work. And especially something like this, as soon as you had explained to me the idea, I'm like, this is genius, man. How has nobody thought of like incentivizing good things before? And I'm just amazed at like the scope of your project in general. And, I'm wondering, like, it's such a like wide reach of good things that you're trying to incentivize. Do you feel like you'll eventually have to sort of choose a lane, or is the idea to expand to the point where you can be like sort of all encompassing? I'm just, with the amount of directions this could potentially go, it almost seems like totally overwhelming with the possibilities.
Yeah, it absolutely is overwhelming. And so, I think the key is really identifying focus and to prioritize. And so one of the core principles of our organization is Kaizen. It's a methodology. If you're not familiar, it's a practice that was developed in Japan in the manufacturing world. And the concept is you take these tiny little increments of making improvements, implementing an idea or a feature or an improvement, measuring the results, and then learning from it day by day. And by doing these tiny little increments, you actually learn a lot in the process, and you can adapt very quickly. So instead of trying to take on this gigantic ecosystem and do it all at once, you paint that canvas and say, this is the vision. But then every single day you have to kind of pick and choose. What is the one thing we want to implement that's going to make the biggest impact? And just keep doing it every day. And eventually you just get to that end state. So in the way we apply that, we basically pick one activity and just focus in and make sure, hey, does this user experience look great? Does exercising every day actually work? Are people incentivized to come in and check in, take a look at their profile, see their progress, take a look at their friend leaderboards and see if they're beating their friends? So in order for us to accomplish a grand vision, we just want to take it one step at a time and iterate. And again, use science, because you just form your hypothesis. You run an experiment, you collect your data, you reflect and analyze, and then you pivot and continue developing. So the way we stay on track is we actually have our LEYLINE roadmap. And so the whole organization aligns towards these top-down priorities and say, okay, the focus for this week, the next thing at the top of the stack is we're going to nail these NFTs and build an inventory and profile page. And so everybody kind of rallies around that and make sure there's a really awesome user experience. We tackle that, learn from it, and then move on to the next priority. So that's kind of our approach to, making sure that we make real progress without getting too chaotic and all over the place. But practically speaking, it is chaos. We're a startup and shit moves really fast. The blockchain and crypto space moves insanely fast. It's crazy to see all the innovation that's happening. So, just in the past couple of months since we've launched, we've evolved so much. Our original value proposition has really grown. And a lot of that comes from feedback from our nonprofit partners, our business sponsors, as well as our core community. So there's a lot of input coming in where we adapt very quickly.
Dude, I love how systematic you are in your approach and how thoughtful everything that you guys are doing really
Dude,
is.
we do the same thing. He just makes it sound so much smarter.
Yeah, just wordsmithing it, man.
That scientific approach. But normalizing the reward points for LEYLINE points, I think that's super smart. And really, it's a call to action to the whole world when you do something like that. So it makes people feel very comfortable, regardless, like you were saying, of where they are in the world, what sort of compute power they have behind them or in their hands. I just kind of love that approach. I think that's really powerful long term. One of the things that I was really interested to kind of weave into the conversation and kind of really excited me when you were giving your introduction, based on your time at Blizzard, you had mentioned StarCraft in Korea, and that's the epicenter of where the esports gaming movement kind of emerged. I'm curious, if you could kind of go back into your career, especially when you're working on these esports leagues and stuff like that, and maybe even specifically what you did with StarCraft in Korea, and kind of take us from there into how you're weaving all that experience into what you're doing at LEYLINE.
Yeah, this is there's a lot of stories to tell there, but you're right. It's kind of like the cradle or the birth cradle of esports is in Korea, and that culture is so strong. South Korea is just a fascinating place and culture. One, it's just the most highly connected broadband nation on the planet. I think it's a vast majority of people have super fast internet, and gaming is also extremely prevalent because it's just proportional to the amount of internet users and mobile phones and distribution. And the Korean culture is highly competitive. Everything about Korean culture is about speed and efficiency and competition and being the best. So it's why like Korean gamers are just like awesome at every game they play. It's like ridiculous. And you can see it in like, most esports, particularly with the StarCraft and Overwatch League. It's like all these professional teams are just full of Korean players. There's a very clear reason why. And the passion behind it is also really palpable. Like these pro players like have fan clubs, and like, when they lose a tournament, like their fans are there in the audience crying because like their favorite player lost. So that was really fascinating to kind of see that culture. And in many ways, it's kind of the trendsetter, because all of like the excitement, the passion, and the stories start to replicate across other countries. So if you want to see what's going to happen in esports space in the future, just look at Korea. It kind of sets the pace for how that culture evolves. And relating that kind of experience into LEYLINE is we understand that esports is just this cultural movement from the grassroots side of the house. And, the interesting thing from the publisher side is that they're kind of approaching it from the top down, which is, hey, let's recreate the NBA and the NFL of sports into the esports world. And what I observe is that by taking that kind of top-down, monetized, franchised approach, it actually alienated the origins of esports, which is very much grassroots and community. So my takeaway was you cannot build this ecosystem if you don't have a really strong foundation in the grassroots. So that's really what we focus on. Is we're really trying to build this community and ecosystem and a movement. And to me, reaching and ending that community includes, so what are they passionate about? What do they love? And esports and gaming and streaming is a huge piece of it. So what we're actually doing as part of our community is running regular esports activities and events. So, we're just getting started, but we're now starting to live stream every other week, different tournaments, and we call it community clashes. So we've got about 12 student ambassadors on a project now because it's an open source project and they're kicking ass. And so a lot of them specialize in esports. And so we're starting to pull together different colleges to do competitions. We've got a lot of partners in our network with, basically students in the academic space. One of the organizations I worked with is called NASIF. And they basically have 1,000 high schools across the US, Australia, Europe, Africa. And they focus on educational outcomes using esports. So we are actually kind of partnering with them to bring in esports and education together. And we just, grant LEYLINE points and help build these digital resumes for these students. So there's this really great overlap and tie-in between gaming and esports and how we are gamifying that and building NFTs in this ecosystem. And it's kind of the bringing these communities all together, because the one thing we have in common is that, man, we got to fix the world. This is so important. So let's just make this fun. Let's make fixing the world really fun and interesting and engaging. And let's really embrace each other's passions and align on things that we enjoy and care about. So that to me was a really important element, is that we have to build good culture. And good culture means let's find the areas that we all have joy and alignment on and embrace it. So anyway, hopefully I answered the question.
Dude, I feel like
Matt.
Every answer of yours spawns 10,000 questions that could take us down different rabbit holes, man. This could go 4 hours long if we're not too careful.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, it's fascinating stuff, man. I'm trying not to get sidetracked with my own personal questions that are somewhat unrelated to the topic. Dude, I know you had talked NFTs and metaverse and wanted to sort of open up some dialogue around that, and I'm really interested to know how that fits into your overarching plans with LEYLINE. I mean, obviously you've got the NFTs as rewards, which shit, dude, with your artists that you have in your back pocket, I'm ready to start farming all the things to get the LEYLINE points and start bleeding myself out of the blood bank and whatever I got to do, man. But you drop the term metaverse, which is thrown around a lot. And, I know you're involved in the crypto space in some capacity. So tie it all together, man. How do you see that fitting in?
Yeah, I think what is clearly emerging now is that there's all these ecosystems doing world building. And, you guys are already doing the Meta Olympics, which is very telling of the fact that there is some connection between all these different virtual worlds. So what I can see as an inevitability is that these virtual worlds, these can all be connected via blockchain. So there's nothing really stopping us from building compatibility. And there's an incentive to do that, because the more you create compatibility, the more you and NFTs and currency will have value, because it's utility, because it could be used in many different places. So there's actually an economic incentive for all of us to collaborate and to open up our platforms versus these walled gardens where small groups of people own everything. We really want to move away from that. So what I see LEYLINE's contribution is that we want to be connected into this metaverse and really help out everybody by creating utility. So we would love to have any NFTs compatible on our platform, even if it's like a piece of art. Awesome. There's a piece of art. Let's have it on your LEYLINE profile as like a background, or you can kind of choose to surface it and like let it be a showcase on your social profile. So we would love to work with anybody that's building NFTs and give you an opportunity to make them accessible at LEYLINE. So that's a big focus, is making sure that we build this thing with cross-chain compatibility in mind. And our contribution here is we want to bring an economy, like money flow, into this global metaverse and ecosystem that is based off of doing good things in the real world. We essentially need a tether to reality, because what's going to happen is the metaverse is going to be so fucking awesome. We're going to spend all of our time there. Like, we just, it's just like awesome to be there, like so many amazing things to do. And that is wonderful and fun. But the problem is, if we spend all of our time in the digital world, we start to lose empathy for what's happening in the real world. Gaming is very much an escape. It's a way to kind of run away from the harshness of reality. So we need some way to be incentivized to get off our ass and exercise and take care of ourselves. We need a way to be incentivized to help other people that are really struggling in the real world, that don't have an opportunity to escape like we can. So the way to do that is pay people. It's like pay people to go out and do some good shit. And that'll make you a much more whole individual and healthier and happier. So that way we avoid this complete disconnect from reality. I think that's such an important thing we have to help cultivate in this ecosystem. So I think that's where LEYLINE brings that contribution, where we can kind of balance and create harmony between our experience in the real world and experience in a digital world, and just make sure it's infused with good and altruism and care for others and care for yourself. So that's kind of, I see our place in the metaverse. I don't think we're going to be this one platform to rule them all. I think we're just part of the equation to make society better.
There's so many different, rabbit holes within like this metaverse concept that we can kind of dive down into. But one of the things that kind of had popped into my head as you're describing LEYLINE, and especially how you're incorporating NFTs into the project specifically, like giving individual users NFTs for their profile and avatar, it sort of like sparked this idea that, well, LEYLINE is trying to incentivize all this good all around the world. People are hopping on here and they're going to be accruing this resume of doing good, right? This kind of like altruistic or philanthropic sort of identity. And having that corresponding NFT there is like, wow, that's a powerful signal to like potentially all these other projects that are operating or active in the metaverse to potentially kind of look at and kind of incorporate into their own ecosystems at whatever they're doing. So I feel like that's a really potentially interesting thing.
Where's your LEYLINE badge, other project? How come you're not donating your computer power? What the hell?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that's the key is that, for developers, particularly, people that are just getting into the ecosystem, they're looking for ways that their tokens have value, and also just to get exposure and say, hey, I use this, guys, and we have this aggregated platform of do-gooders that, potentially would be interested in, checking out this game as part of the metaverse. And when they have all these NFTs that have some compatibility, they're going to be more incentivized to come check out a game. So yeah, there's it's really about creating this win-win ecosystem for everybody. And that is the big paradigm shift that blockchain is creating, is this positive sum game where no one has to be a loser for progress to happen. Everybody can win. One person's success is another person's success versus one person's success is another failure. And if you want to have a concrete example of that, it's a stock market. So in the stock market, you buy in, and when you profit, it means that somebody else is losing. It is a shitty game because it's a kind of a winner take all scenario. And blockchain changes that, where everybody has their own decentralized ownership. It's accruing value over time. And through exchanging and cooperating, people win out. So anyway, that's kind of the vision of the future that we all need to start moving towards, because we can do this. This is we can write the rules ourselves. So let's not write rules that are shitty for, a good portion of the population, which is happening right now. Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there. I hope that was answering your question.
Yeah, it wasn't really a question. It was more just thinking out loud and seeing where you would take that thought. So the tangent is very much appreciated, what I was looking for.
Dude, I just think it's so awesome, man. I feel like I feel like you and I sort of picked up on this same void in the metaverse, because that's sort of how Jeremy and I connected in the first place. Was I felt like we've got this great community, we've got this great technology. Now, how do we leverage all of these super valuable assets that we have for the greater good? And I don't know if anyone knows the answer, but shit, Jeremy seems like on the right track, which is how we connected in the first place and everything. And I feel like that has a place, right? Nobody's really figured out how that altruistic vision plays a role in the metaverse, just because everything is so much in its infancy, but someone will. And having that bigger vision where that falls in line with the whole ethos of blockchain, and everybody can win, the rising tide lifts all ships types of thing. I just think is so great and important for the space in general. Plus your NFTs give me FOMO. But it makes sense, man. You got to incentivize people to do stuff, and I feel personally altruistic stuff is the type of thing that once you get the ball rolling, in theory, you get the ship off the ground, and the incentives are a bonus instead of the catalyst, to get things started, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I see us as we're not trying to compete with other programs that, incentivize behavior. I think we're additive. We layer on top of all the value you're already getting out of contributing. And I think that's the beautiful thing is now imagine all these different platforms and projects that are kind of piling on value for good that you do. That's essentially going to turn into your basic income, which is, okay, I'm going to take care of myself, and whoa, I get paid for doing that. Awesome. I can, It really creates this sense of security and abundance. And that's what's going to help society, is that when you get out of this mode of scarcity, you stop worrying about, oh my God, can I get food on the table or roof over my head? And you start to think about, okay, what else do I do in my life now? You know what? I might as well start helping others because I'm so fortunate. That's the kind of future we want to build, a future of abundance and care. But, if you don't mind, I would love to ask more and just get more educated on, what you guys are doing in NFT space. And I would love to figure out what's the best way we all can collaborate, given, that vision of the future. How do we start building that together? What are your thoughts? Or, help educate me.
So I think the easiest point of entry and what Rizzle and I and Token Smart and NFT42 have all kind of been working towards is providing this community platform to make it super simple for anyone interested in the space to jump in either into the events in Token Smart Discord that happen multiple times every single day, or into the WIP, which is this metaverse meetup that we do every Thursday at 12 p.m. to kind of expose people to the best of the metaverse. Usually that involves a lot of NFTs, very cool projects that we're introducing to folks, giveaways, community drops where people can participate and scoop up some NFTs or art or what have you, right? And just kind of expose people to the best of this stuff. And what you're doing at LEYLINE, it feels like there's an obvious kind of opening to kind of really collaborate potentially even further and say that, hey, folks that are joining the WIP, folks that are, I don't want to speak too much for what Token Smart's doing. That's Rizzle's baby. But like, I would love to kind of make sure that we onboard folks that come to the WIP to LEYLINE and provide an easy access point for them to sign up and get involved. And I know you're in alpha right now, but it'd be a great kind of community to start onboarding, I think, for what you guys are doing, because people coming in, they are more crypto literate, but a lot of people are still first timers, and exposing them to something like LEYLINE for the first time would be a really, really, really positive kind of initial meeting, I think.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, to me, this is the kind of communities we really want to engage with, because there is that shared ethos and that passion for what this technology can really bring. And yeah, that's my hope, is that we want to be really successful. And the reason why is that I don't want any more, you know, billionaire Mark Zuckerbergs in the world, honestly, because that's what's going to happen with this space. Like, everything is exponential. And the outcome we want to have is that we want to make a shit ton of money. And because we're a nonprofit, we're going to take all that profit and put it right back into the prize pool and just give more money to people, especially those that are in need.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that kid in Venezuela, when he gets at that $25 Bitcoin gift card plus his exclusive NFT, that $25 Bitcoin gift card is already a year's worth of salary. Like, that is a game changer for these individuals. It'll transform their lives, because now they can get proper nutrition, they can get medical assistance, they can go get educated, and, you know, spread that prosperity. And now imagine their whole family getting access to that, and imagine their whole community getting access to that. You're literally just like getting a phone, getting internet, pop it in LEYLINE, and then, you know, transform your life. Like, this can happen. And so because we can generate all this revenue, we're not trying to be billionaires here. We're trying to like help the world. So we could be throwing millions of dollars into that prize pool and distributing it to people that are in need. And that is like a massive problem right now, where income inequality is just getting worse. And we're talking about 180 million people now thrust into poverty as a result of this economic crisis that's unfolding right now. So it's going to get worse. So anyway, that's like a big focus for us, is to, you know, as another side benefit, we become this like really powerful money engine distribution machine, which is super cool.
All right, I got it. We're going to save the world. You ready? Jeremy, man, you already know I'm down, man. I mean, and likewise with Matt, we do the WIP together. Matt does Token Smart events with us. You've already been in our thing. And so, yes, I firmly believe like just exposure, spreading the word, hanging out together. We got Eugenia is on your team, is now like crypto literate and hanging out with a few of our people. Right. So I think, honestly, like, part of it is just having fun, hanging out, like communities, bringing people together, showing people what you're doing. I feel like, honestly, like, once people hear from you and what your ethos is, it's very hard to not like want to participate or get involved in some capacity. However, dude, I'm like, give me an NFT, like a dope NFT ambassador badge from Blizzard that gets upgraded once I get 10 referrals to another dope NFT. And now we're really talking, right? We can easily like hook up. Let's gamify the shit out of it, right? We can easily get some ambassadors out there. They get their ambassador badges that they can then upgrade once they've onboarded a certain amount of people. Repeat until Rizzle has the dopest badge of them all.
Dude, actually, this is perfect because we have just implemented our Refer a Friend program. So if you end up referring, we have super exclusive NFTs that are only going to be earned by referring a friend. So we've got, the first friend you refer, we're going to grant you Leyline points as soon as they've, earned a certain amount of doing good things. And I believe we have like a, pretty badass friendship bracelet art concept. And again, these NFTs will evolve over time. So it'll eventually turn into a 3D model that you can attach to your avatar. I think as you, earn more referrals, you keep on getting more Leyline points. And then at some point, I think it's like 5 or 10 referrals, we unlock the Hydra Shield. And the Hydra Shield evolved as well. And I think we're going to keep on going, just stacking on more and more crazy ass unique items that can only be earned that way. So yes, if you want to refer people, we are going to hook you up and reward you as a master headhunter, recruiter, or whatever.
Hell yeah.
And we're going to keep on, like, as you have more ideas, that's a big part of our Discord community is that we listen all the time. So you can submit ideas and feedback and we just start implementing it and adding a ton of value. So I think that's the key is like, we really want to focus on, really want to focus on these communities that are passionate about this. And so anybody that comes from Token Smart or your communities, we will grant you 100% alpha access immediately upon request and get you to the waitlist. I think we should have 12 or 1,200 or so people on the waitlist right now, and you can skip all that because you're part of this awesome community. Yeah. So throwing that out there, join our Discord and we'll hook you up.
We're going to end this soon, man. I got to give some blood.
I feel like we were probably going to continue the conversation offline, but just for the sake of time, and since we will be playing this next week in the Token Smart Discord, keeping it within an hour is usually sort of like how we deal with this, even though there's obviously so much more to talk about.
Matt, I'm happy to come, and we've got our whole team available as well to kind of participate, share their perspectives, continue talking and jamming on more ideas. We can make this a regular thing. Like I love chatting with you guys, and feel like let's make it happen.
No, totally. And I'll take the lead with what Rizzle usually asks, and what we call the shakedown at the end of the show. Yeah. And basically, open up your crypto wallet and tell us exactly what you've been collecting and scooping up, and what you have going on inside your wallet.
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, my wallet is all Leyline items. So I have not yet gotten into the NFT game. So this is actually one of the topics that our team would certainly love to get educated on, which is help us jump into the NFT space. Maybe guide us through what that process looks like. I'm not sure if you guys have tutorial events or what the right onboarding into the space is. But Eugenia ended up learning a lot from you guys very quickly, and now she's a believer. And I think, we'd love to have some of our community pop into one of these sessions and get educated. Help me out because I'm behind the curve there. I'm busy building, not collecting.
There's a decent chance next Wednesday is Leyline Wednesday, because I think we're going to do something live in Token Smart with a couple of your crew members. And we can certainly do some onboarding, question and answering, entering into the NFT space. And then this will get dropped later that evening, Eastern time, for the live listening party for this podcast that we're recording right now. So it'll be like a Leyline festival next Wednesday. But dude, we do a lot of these things and would love to hop over to your guys' channel if that's beneficial or helpful to explain things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're talking to the right people, man, and would love to get you guys even more involved. So happy to help out.
I love this. This is the beginning of a beautiful relationship. I firmly believe. I mean, it's already awesome now.
It's already very beautiful.
It's going to keep on going. But guys, thank you so much. Really, it means so much to get your support and to even have these conversations. I'm really appreciative of that, and it means a lot to the team as well, because we're really grinding hard, and to know that what we're working on is appreciated and people are excited about it. It actually is super inspiring, and so thank you for that. Really, really appreciate it.
Well, really, really awesome to chat with you, and excited to make the metaverse good for everyone heading forward. And like you said, this is just the start of a beautiful relationship conversations that will continue to evolve and happen. I'm really excited for that, and really excited to watch you keep creating. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man.
Have a good one.
This is great.
Hey everyone, Matthew here. Thank you for listening to today's show. I just want to remind everyone of this month's sponsor, Whale Street. Whale Street is the DeFi engine that powers NFT economics on a massive scale. They make huge currency swaps happen, or whale swaps as they're called, with very small slippage costs and without crashing the system. They also engineered the largest ever NFT bundle and fractionalized it into the historic B20 tokens. Whale Street is all about upside, so dip into the liquidity pools for rich rewards. For B20, join discord.com/whale. That's discord.com/WHALE. And follow Whale Street on Twitter @Whale Street OFFL. Thank you, and see you next episode.
It's going down
Sent Podcast.
in the area. This is
Matthew and Rizzle.
Hey, you, but it's
Sent Podcast.
let 'em know, y'all.
Sent Podcast.
In the area. This is
Matthew and Rizzle.
hey, you, but it's
Sent
dirty.
Sent Podcast.
Oh, yes! What a great interview! I really can't get enough of the feedback, guys. For real. Much love, guys. I love you so much. Peace, love, and whiskey. Oh no! Oops, no whiskey. I'm whipsy. Love you guys. Good night. Much love. Peace, love, and whipsy. See you. Oopsie.